But, there's other places I could live in the world. But, I've traveled so much of the world, man. But Canada is the best place on earth to live, like, especially with a family. It's a really great place to live, though.
Okay, wait. Time out. Like, are you
him to say that?
Are you in trouble, Roger, with immigration? Like, you hold on,
bro.
Hold on. Trinidad, like, you've been all over the world. You and I have similar skin tones.
Yeah.
Unlike Greg, our blood runs hot. Tell me, come on, seriously?
Well, this is it, right? This is the real deal, bro.
All right.
I don't got to worry about like people shooting up my kid's school.
Okay, fair. Okay, all right.
That's a big thing.
All right.
A lot of the islands on the planet are sinking underwater. Like Indonesia is the fastest sinking place on earth. Every year there's 100-year events in Trinidad and the Caribbean now, like flooding like crazy. So that eliminates all the lowest elevations globally, which is a lot of amazing places currently. So, and in terms of, I don't think I would live in Europe. Europe is really cool and fun to visit, but living in Europe is like it's a hot mess, bro.
Yeah.
So
fine.
We're in Canada, bro. Canada's the best place on earth to live. I'm telling you.
Fine. My sister just moved to just north of San Diego.
Yeah, so, beautiful. It's beautiful up there, man.
Yeah. So she's been sharing pictures of working outside under palm trees, and I'm sort of looking outside, and it's white and it's cold and
it's nothing, bro. You know what? When she sends you the picture of the forest fires, then you'll be like, see, here's some snow. Or the earthquakes, like the earthquake just mash it. It's like, yo, here's some snow. I could just shovel it and I'm straight. Put on a jacket and I'm good.
Fair enough.
There's that.
Hi, the following podcast is brought to you by Radical Road Brewery, the best craft beer in the heart of Leslieville. Find them at 1177 Queen Street East. That's Radical Road Brewery.
What's up, everybody? This is Roger Mooking here. I'm a chef and recording artist. Welcome to the music.
Welcome. Roger, it's so great to have you on. I'm so excited to have you on with us today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
One of the things I wanted to start off with, we've had Chin join us previously as a guest on Welcome to the Music, which was a great chat. We're so excited to have you on board. First thing I want to start off, I want to thank you for Funkmobile. You and everybody have written so many great songs over the years, but I'm telling you, when that song comes on, you can't not move your ass. So thank you.
Thank you, man. That was like a late night. Back then, I was so broke that I couldn't even jump the back of the TTC. So I would do like shows. We would be doing shows at like the Cameron House, and I would like walk home every day down by the Esplanade and walk. I'd be like 4 a.m. walking around all over downtown. So one night I like walked home. It was like 5 a.m. after like warehouse party, and the lyrics just hit me. Boom. Chin had the melody and the lyrics just started. So like you hear the beginning of the song, I say, yo, I'll sing it to you when I wake up better. It's because Chin called me like 7 a.m. and I'm like, yo, just let me finish sleeping and then I'll call you back and I'll sing you the lyrics,
That's awesome. Anyway, great groove.
Always.
Yeah. Congrats on Edibles.
Oh, thank you, man. I've had a lot of fun making that.
Yeah, great EP. And so I have to ask you this, because I'm not a foodie like Greg is. Greg is a huge foodie, and I remember a while ago saying, "We got to get Roger on. I said, "Who's Roger?" He goes, "Oh, but you don't know who Roger is? Do you watch this show? Do you watch that show?" I said, "Greg, dude, and Greg knows if we meet up before a concert, he's finding some fancy place to go eat or some nice, might not be fancy, but it'll be nice." And I'm thinking, oh, dude, there's a burger joint just down the street. Let's just go to Harvey's and pick up something. you know.
Who
But he
eats at
says,
Harvey's? Who eats at Harvey's?
Who's-
I don't know anybody eat at
"Oh,
Harvey's.
geez, sorry,
It's
Roger."
like Arby's. It's like, how does Arby's stand? Have you ever seen anybody going to Arby's, or have any of your friends ever been like, "Yo, let's go hit the Arby's"?
when we were in our 20s, sure. Now you look back, you go, oh man. Yeah. Oh.
That is crazy. But so I wanted to ask you, like, you are like most people today, if they're not of our vintage, most people today know you as a quote unquote celebrity chef. You know, you're on television and everything. Why are you still making music?
Because I wake up in the middle of the night with songs. That's really what it is, dog. I sleep pretty good. But inevitably once a week, twice a week, I hear a song in my sleep, and then I realize, oh snap, I never heard that song ever before. And so it's like, okay, I gotta track this somehow. And this is a gift. I look at these things like gifts, right? And you got to act on the gifts. You know what I mean? Because I realized like not everybody wakes up with songs in their head, like full songs, So I wake up and I get on my memos and I track. There's the bass line goes boom, 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 boom. The drums go like, the keyboard is like this, and I sing out all the lines. And then I got like mad voice memos, bro. So many voices. And then when I get a chance to go in the studio, I take those memos and I just start dropping them, So really, I make the records because they make themselves in my head. And like I said, it's a gift. I feel obligated to respect the gift. We're just like traversing through the universe, and these things are floating about, and sometimes we have access to them, if you have that gift. So I have access to it. So I feel obligated to honor that.
Very interesting. And so do you take it any further? Like, do you say, you know what, I did music. I came into, I became a chef and I'm doing well with that. Do you ever have conversations in your head or with maybe some of your friends or family that maybe I'm going to go back into music, like Roger Mook and, DJ or MC or, hook up with some buddies and start, version 2 of Maximum Definitive. Like what is the calling that strong yet?
Well, the thing is, I built this kind of like hybrid life where I'm able to, do food professionally and I'm able to do records professionally. And I'm not beholden to one or the other, because, once you get down to doing music like full time like that, the record company's like, okay, we need a hit. And then we need and then the A&R person has no idea about music, is like, yo, telling you to do this. And then the president needs this. And then this, and the marketing department needs this. And the publicity department needs this. And then I never got into music to deal with all of these accoutrements. It's just like I said, I wake up with songs in my head and I want to put them out. So I'm now built this place where I can make whatever I want. Like you listen to my first record, Soul Food, then you listen to Feedback, and then you hear Eat Your Words, and now you hear Edibles. Every record is completely different. The soundscape, the even how I use my voice, the melodies, some are more sing-songy, some have some rock elements to it. So, if I was locked down with a record company like that in that way, they would never let you do that. It's like, yo, Nicki Minaj, you blew up with this, you got to do 10 more of thises, and it's like, I don't want to be beholden to that. So I'm really happy doing what I'm doing now. If more people hear the music and like it, that's amazing. If people call and say they want to do some shows, I have fun doing shows. I'm down with it. But I never want to be beholden to some infrastructure for outlet of creativity. This is it keeps me sane, to be honest. I would not be a sane person without music, man.
And I would think too, having like diversifying what you do, not diversifying what you do, but having various things that you do allows you the freedom to be able to do that.
Yeah,
right? To have that view,
absolutely.
so you're not having to go with a label, not having to be beholden to what they
And you know, I've done my first 3 records with Warner Music, and but with those, I just made them. They liked them. They licensed them. They bought them. Final masters. You know, so it's not like A&R people in the studio and all this. Screw that, man. I've been there. It's like not fun, and you don't get to make what you love, what you want to make, right? So yeah, no, I just I do it. Honestly, I do it because I love it. And, you know, you hear people say, I would be doing this if I was broke. It's what it is, man. I do it when I'm broke, when I'm not broke. This is what I do.
That's cool. That's cool. One of the things that I wanted, so if like, what I really want to know is you come from a family, you know, born in Trinidad, grew up in Edmonton, you know, your family's in the restaurant business. I mean, eventually you go there. How do you within that family and that culture and the you know, Chinese Caribbean background and the foods and everything that you talk about and, you know, your influences, how do you get into music? Like going back to Edmonton and the trio and like, how do you get into that?
Well, my dad in Trinidad was always a massive record collector. He probably had one of the largest record collections in Trinidad, no joke. And it was everything from Santana to Venezuelan parang music to Simon and Garfunkel, Calypso, like everything, right? So in our house would be cooking food and listening to records. And so I grew up in this environment with just great music, Santana playing in the background, Sugar Aloes playing in the background. And I guess I absorbed the food and I absorbed the music. When I was like, just before I was a teenager, preteen, my brother's 5 years older than me. He was into breakdancing. And so they used to practice in the basement. And my brother used to also, because we had a good record collection still, he would mix and he became a DJ. So he would DJ and breakdance. And so around me, I picked up the breakdancing because I want to be like my bigger brother and listen to the music that they were listening to. And that was like UTFO and Roxanne Shante and Fat Boys and, you know, just all this, like the legends in that era, Run DMC. So I grew up listening to hip hop because of my brother. And then I started branching off, listening to my own, like going into KRS-One and Public Enemy and all that stuff, the Roots and all that stuff. Yeah, so I just by osmosis naturally and just the environment, man, our house was just food and music. That was it, bro. Just like 24/7. So I just dove into that. And then when my brother started DJing, then I picked it up and then I started rapping along and I was like, oh, I can rap along with this. That's cool, you know, some of the friends could do that. And I started writing my own raps and then before you awards and stuff, you know.
What how did the name MC Mystic come about?
So I used to play around with a bunch of different names. My first name ever was Kid Crazy when I was breakdancing. And then I had a few different names, but one of the dancers in our group at that time, I was in there was a different version of Maximum Definitive and I was a solo artist, but we always used to roll together, right? And do a lot of shows together. So one of our dancers in Maximum Definitive, his name was Verb. He's like, yo, man, you're just mystical. Your lyrics is mystical, you know? So that should be your name, Mystic. And it just stuck. MC Mystic just stuck. And he actually dubbed me that.
Nice. Do you remember any of your like really early rhymes that made it maybe into a video or a song or anything like that?
Early rhymes that made it into a song or video from back in the day. We had this song called The Transit Man.
All right.
And it was basically how like the Transit Man was racist. Because we were running for the bus. You know, you run for the bus and you get to the door and he just looks at you and be like, and you drive away. That just used to happen to us all the time. So we made up this
Alberta.
Song.
That's weird.
Yeah. And what was weird, right?
Yeah, but that kissing of the lips, Roger, that's not a white guy doing that.
Yeah, no. So we made this song called Transit Man, right? See how I avoided that one? See that? Transit Man. So Transit Man was like, the Transit Man can drive right by while he's waving his hand. He wear a brown suit. He's the leader of the clan. He's the Transit Man.
Oh man,
that's back. Back
in the day. So Maximum Definitive, how did that get started? Was it just a collective, was it just your buddies and you just doing shows?
Yeah, it was just like I was a solo artist called. I was in this group called. I can't remember what we used to call ourselves back then. It's this duo. Then I turned into a solo artist, MC Mystic, and then I used to hang around. We had like a little crew of 3 or 4 groups, and I just kind of morphed into the Maximum Definitive because Justin Darp used to make all the beats and stuff. And then I'd be like, yo, look, I'm gonna jump on this song. And then I'd just jump on another one. And then I start doing the hooks and writing and working together. And before you knew it, we had a whole collection of songs. And Jungle Man was one of those songs, and we released that video, and that was it.
Was that the one on Much Music?
Yeah, that was the one they played a lot on Much Music.
So tell me, how does that happen for a hip hop group out of Edmonton that Much Music in Toronto finds your stuff?
Well, so we found this video director. We were doing this show for I think West Edmonton Mall, something like that, right? And we're doing this show and this big show. And this video camera guy came up to us like, yo, you guys are really dope and blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't do a video for y'all. I'm like, okay, well, we don't got no money, but sure, right? So he applied Video Fact and all that stuff for this song Jungle Man. And we made the video in the Mutart Conservatory in Edmonton. Overnight we did it. And we sent it into Much Music, and they just started spinning it, man. It was like Tribe Called Quest and Native Tongues era, and I guess it just kind of fit into the Rap City and Soul in the City and Electric Circus Matrix. And before you knew it, man, that song just started spinning like crazy, and people started requesting it and liking it. And then one day I got a call from the producer of Electric Circus, and Denise Donlin called because we were nominated for these awards. And I came to Toronto for 2 weeks, and I never went back. I'm still here.
Wow.
Was it just you from the group that came, or did the whole gang come?
No, the whole crew came, man. Yeah.
And so they're about to drive back to Edmonton on the bus or something like that and go.
They went back. I stayed. Yeah.
Where the heck where is Roger?
Well, I called my mom's. I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna stay. She freaked out.
How old were you?
17, man. I was like just out of high school, a little punk, basically,
Wow.
And I just said, yeah, I'm just not gonna go. What am I gonna go back to Edmonton for? There's nothing there. There's no industry there. So I just stayed back and was just kind of politicking and building with people in the industry and getting to know everybody. And then started writing with the bass people and doing shows as kind of like a hype man with them. And then the hype man turned into writing songs with them and performing vocals, and then wrote Funkmobile, and boom, all of a sudden I'm in this new group.
What did your friends think back in Edmonton?
They were really mad. They're really mad at me, actually. Retrospect, I should have stayed in 2 groups, but I'm young. I don't know how the game works. I don't know how the industry. I felt like all this pressure, I gotta go. So I ended up just kind of morphing over time into this bass, and then it just ended up being that, and then I kind of just morphed out of the other thing,
Yeah.
I have to assume that consumed your time. I mean, that went big.
Oh yeah. That was, we were, when we weren't rehearsing, we rehearsed a lot. When we weren't rehearsing, we were recording. If we weren't recording, we were promoting our gigs. We'd be on Queen Street handing out flyers and stickering all over the city and crazy, So I think what really built our buzz is just being on Queen Street and just being around. And we used to busk and put stickers up. We knew everybody in all the stores, everybody on the street. And it was just, we were just kind of known as being around the streets and smashing the clubs, and then one thing led to another.
Nice. So when Funkmobile, you tell a story, or I've heard you tell a story about when that song came out. Maybe you're not sure whether you guys have made it or you guys are big. You're hanging around Queen Street, but you're walking along Yonge Street, I think it is, and tell me, you're hearing your song over and over and over again.
Yeah, I think we're coming from a radio interview at Ryerson, actually. I thought it was rehearsal, but it's a radio interview from Ryerson. We're walking from Ryerson south down towards Queen Street because that was our home, basically.
Okay, yeah.
And on the 2 blocks between where Dundas Square is now and Ryerson, a block and a half. We heard that song like 6 times, and it wasn't like the radio because they were playing at different points in the song, you know. And I was like, Chin, yo, there's like 6 cars just playing this song. Like, what? I think we got a hit. Like, this must be a hit. And that was the first time I realized that, yo, we legit had a hit. You know, it was just crazy.
How long did the band stay together for? I know there were 2 albums.
How long did we stay? I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years,
something like that.
So when eventually you guys won Juno Awards, you guys are you guys traveling a lot? Like, are you doing a lot of U.S. tours and stuff like that? Or
we had signed it was the first co-venture deal with America. Actually, we signed with A&M Polygram in Canada and co-venture with a label called Loose Cannon that was through the Universal and Polygram infrastructure at that time, right? And so we were touring North America was our deal. You know, we were all over. The American team had us flying all over the place, and the Canadian team had us flying all over the place too.
Who'd you have a chance to share the stage with?
Oh man, we played with like James Brown, Busta Rhymes, the Marley Family, the Fugees, TLC, Burton Cummings, Celine Dion.
That's a switch. You go from some funk and hip hop to Celine Dion.
Yeah, we opened up a string of dates with Burton Cummings, man. It was crazy. The Celine Dion thing was something for the Atlanta Olympics that we did.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's cool, man. Like it's pretty crazy. Yeah. Tribe Called Quest. A lot of people.
Now
Bare Naked Ladies. We toured with Bare Naked Ladies for like
I could see that.
Something like that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. Those guys are great.
Yeah. Now there's no selfies back in the day.
yeah. Yo, I just found a picture with James Brown the other day, though.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, no, it was so dope, man. It's so crazy. I forgot.
So how is that?
That's
like,
amazing.
you know, I'm sure your dad had a James Brown record back home.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, James Brown records.
So when you have a chance to, like, I don't know whether you actually get to meet the guy. I guess you did because you have a photo with him. But like, what's that?
Man, Kareem, you're quick, Kareem.
I tell you,
listen.
normally he just insults our guests, but every once in a while he compliments them to like another level, a whole other level.
I get that.
Anyway, sorry, back over to you, buddy.
Oh, I'm gonna go now. But like, tell me, like, how is that? Your mind must be blown.
Yeah, my mind was blown, man. I gotta tell you, and it started from Soundcheck. We're at Soundcheck, and that show was at not Massey Hall, Concert Hall, Masonic Temple.
Yeah.
And so we pulled up for Soundcheck, and we were coming from some other shows, and there was James Brown in the flesh rehearsing the band for Soundcheck. And what he would do and you got to think, like, some of these players been playing with him for like 20, 30 years. They know the material inside and out, right? And every night at Soundcheck, he would rehearse a section of the band. So he would go in the back corner on the organ. He'd be playing organ, and he'd rehearse all the singers. Boom, like for an hour and a half, 2 hours, just harmonies. Do this again. Do it again. No, you screwed it up. I'm thinking, man, this person knows the part. They've been singing this for 30 years. But he's like, and then the next day it would be the rhythm section. It would just be the drummer and him. Boom, boom, and he's testing them. And so a lot of the dancing you see, and I started to notice, a lot of the dancing you see James Brown doing is actually signals and cues for the band. So he may do a move where he grabs the mic and goes like this. If he goes this way, it means this is the next song, and you're going to be doing it on the downbeat of the next section. If he goes like this, it means we're going into the next cycle. So the horn shot thing comes in. Please. Like, you go from 150 BPM down to 60 BPM on a drop of a beat, and the whole band is locked. And he's just rehearsing them every single day. And then he finds them, right? He used to find them. So he'd be doing all these dance moves. He'd turn his back during the show. He'd turn his back to the audience, and he'd be doing all these dance moves. And then he'd give like these finger signals, or like he'd twitch his foot. And if the drummer missed the cue, I would see him, because I watched all of those shows from side stage.
Yeah.
You would see him go 1, That means one fine, right? And then he'd test them again, boots to, and nobody's moving. Like the guy in the corner who's playing organ is like this. Because he's got to see him at every point because everything is a cue. And if you miss the cue, and then I watch him with the drummer again, he's like, okay, that's 2. So I asked the musicians, I was like, yo, what's this thing he does where like he turns his back and he's like he's like, yo, he's telling us you're fined once, you're fined twice, you're fined 3 times. And he goes to another section, just all during the show. The crowd has no idea.
I had, yeah.
Yeah, and he's accumulating fines the whole show. The whole show, bro. He just deducts it from the pay. So anyways, so it really was interesting in that at that level for so many years, the same band, same players for so many years, he's still reinforcing quality every single day like that. And it was a real eye opener, man. I thought we were good. We're rehearsing 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, but he's on them 24/7.
Dude, man, thank you so much for sharing that. That's an amazing story.
It was an incredible experience, man. I got to tell you, that thing changed my life. And I said, after those shows, I said, if I never do anything in music ever again, I'll go to sleep. I'm good. I'm straight, man. That's James Brown,
Yeah, wow. That's phenomenal. Well, speaking about never playing music again, you break up after the second album. The other bandmates continue to make music. You said, that's it. I'm going to go learn how to be a chef.
Not entirely true. Not entirely true.
Okay.
I was releasing some independent records, vinyl. I was licensing some music to the UK. Some people would call me every now and then to help them out with some movie stuff. And so I was doing some stuff like that, odds and ends, but not like hot and heavy because I was really sort of disgruntled with just the industry of music, not the creativity, but the industry.
What was it about the industry?
It's like slavery, bro. It's like slavery. It's like the whole industry begins with the art. Mm-hmm. There's no industry without the craft, right?
Sure.
But the business of the industry, the craft is at the last choo-choo on the train, right? And so I would look at this and go, well, this doesn't make sense. This is not making any sense whatsoever. And we had A&R guys back then would tell us, well, y'all are young. You don't have kids yet. What does it matter? We're like, yo, but like it's popping, the thing is going. Like what's given here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the industry is pretty crazy industry, man.
Wow. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you still keep your Juno? Like, is it on the shelf? Do you show it to your kids and tell them your dad is cool?
Funny? Over the years, I've collected and this is not like I'm not bragging, right? But just over the years, I accumulated several awards from music and cooking.
Yeah.
And they're in a box somewhere in the corner of the basement. I had to dig one out the other day for something. I catered the Junos a few years back, and they wanted a picture of my Juno and me because I have a Juno and I'm catering the Junos now, right? So it's like, we want to see the Juno. So I had to find the Juno. So I had to go through all these boxes in the basement and. So yeah, all my awards are in a couple boxes buried in the basement somewhere. And for a while, I used it as a doorstop and stuff like that.
That's crazy. But listen, before we get to talk more about food, damn, Greg, you distracted me with your notes here.
Greg, you're messing him up, bro.
You're messing me up.
I don't know.
Greg, go ahead with the food.
No, I was gonna say so you mentioned about catering the Junos and that. It's like
wait, no, time out. I figured it out.
What's that? Kareem coming in hot. He's coming in hot.
With you being on TV,
yeah.
Do your kids know you're cool? Do they think you're cool? Or are you just dad with the bad dad jokes? Like, who is Roger at home?
At home, So my kids don't really care. You know, this is all they know. All they know is me being on TV and making records. And now they realize that not everybody's parent is on TV, or not everybody's dad makes records, or like does interviews all the time, or like, you know, stuff like that. So I guess now they understand that a little bit better, that it's I guess an unusual career path. But at the end of the day, they just, what's for dinner? I don't like that. You know? Can we have this instead? Can I have some candy? You know, it's like, let's go sledding. You want to go sledding? Like, you know, I'm just their dad, right? They don't care, man.
What do they think of that iced toffee that you made? Was it yesterday?
Oh, the maple syrup toffee.
Maple syrup, yeah.
So peep this, right? When I was living in Edmonton, I had a new friend who moved from Quebec to Edmonton. Yeah. Sorry for them, man. But anyways, they did that. And so one day is like really cold day in Edmonton, like most days in Edmonton. And his dad packed this snow in this little barrel thing and did the maple syrup, and he did it. And I tried it. I was like, what is this thing? It's just blowing my mind right now. So a couple of years ago, we took our kids to Quebec. I was doing a job out there, and they piggybacked and they came out. And I took them to the market, and they were doing the same thing with the snow and the maple syrup, right? So I introduced them to that, and that blew their mind. And ever since that, 2 years ago, they've been asking, can we do that, the maple toffee? Can we do the maple toffee? And up until this last snow day, I've never been home at a time when it snowed enough to do it, and blah, 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 until yesterday's snow day. So they were like, can we do the thing? Let's do the thing. I'm like, okay, we'll do the thing.
Nice. Good segue awesome. Into food.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know what the funny thing is his question that he interrupted me for will actually fit better later, but that's fine. That's totally fine. It's not on his game today. That's fine. Anyway, no. So what I wanted to go next was along the culinary line. So like, how do you, I mean, recognizing your family history, you know, in terms of your parents and your grandfather and that, like, how do you make that shift from the music industry into the culinary world?
I went to culinary school, man.
Yeah.
I went.
George Brown
College. I went. I did culinary management, and I worked full time in a restaurant. I went to school full time, and I just focused on just cooking. People were calling me for making records. I was like, nope, I'm cooking right now, man.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was working full time, 8 hours a day, and then doing school 8-10 hours a day, right? I get up like 4:30 in the morning to get to school for like 5:30 a.m. classes, do classes all day till about 4, and then I go work in the restaurant for a 4:30, 5 o'clock shift, and I would stay there till about 1 in the morning, and then I wake up at, in the morning again, go to school, and I did that straight for 2 years, no days off, and I just focused, man. I just dedicated.
Good for you.
And no secret, it's just grinding, man.
So fast forward,
when you don't have talent, you got to work hard. So that's what I do.
That's because, I mean, fast forward from there, and this is where I start to geek out.
Yeah.
What was it like going head to head against Chef Simon? I can't even fathom that.
Oh man, it was so intimidating. The Iron Chef is like the Olympics of chefing, right? It's one of the Olympics of chefing. There's actually a couple. Bocuse d'Or is another one, but that's a very specific kind of French culinary thing. That's a whole other thing. But Iron Chef was like the Olympics. So, I got the call one day to do the Olympics, so I was like, whoa. And he's like, look, you could either judge or you could compete. You have 24 hours to decide.
Wow.
Yeah, you have 24 hours to decide, but we need to know. And so I was like, I mean, what are the time you're going to have to chance to do the Olympics, So I was like, I'm going to compete. And it's very intimidating. Simon is no joke, man. That guy is no jiggy joke, and is really a lot harder than it looks, and it looks hard.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait, so hold on. Don't leave me hanging. I don't watch these shows, Roger. I apologize, but what happened?
You got to watch it, bro. It's on YouTube.
Dude, man.
I'm sure it's somewhere for you to see, bro. I got hot dogs. Imagine I went on Iron Chef and I got hot dogs was the secret ingredient. I was like, bro, I'm on Iron Chef and you give me hot dogs? Like, come on. He's Lord.
That's awesome. One of the
It wasn't even a
shows that you
truffle
also-
hot dog. You know, it's not even like
Oh,
a
no?
truffle hot dog.
Well,
Like,
you
it's
could
hot dogs.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I guess up to you. Right? So one of your other, or one of many shows that you've done, Heat Seekers with Chef Sanchez.
Yeah.
Of course, Chef Sanchez being put with Chef Costantino for Chef versus City, and I remember a few years ago listening to, I don't know if it was a speech, it was a recording of Chef Costantino talking about the impact of being a celebrity chef and, television, food, reality TV on his health. Right. It was a gut wrenching, and that's I shouldn't use that term because I don't mean to be.
Yeah, I understand.
But it really impacted his health. Any thoughts on that? If you're comfortable, of course. I don't if you're not comfortable with sharing thoughts, but any thoughts on sort of the impact that has on some people because you're just keep trying to ramp it up?
Are you talking about Heat Seekers specifically, or just
no? I'm thinking about more what Chris Costantino shared in terms of his personal health and the issues that he had, because on Chef versus City, it was all about, he was always the one that had to do the extreme foods,
right?
And it really took a hit, or he took a hit on his gut health from that.
Yeah, no, there's some challenges like that for sure. We're doing a show, Heat Seekers, where we're eating hot chilies like en masse, so there was some interesting moments around that, and it is what it is. We didn't do it for too long. How's that?
Okay. Fair enough.
Why? Here's a question from a non-foodie. Why are these food shows so popular?
Because they have great hosts. Why? Food is just primal, so there's that about it, that just this instinct, primal urge, right? So I think that's part of it. I think also a big part of it, and why people are attracted to music and artists, is people love to be around people who are passionate about what they do. So as a viewer, you get an insight, a peek into the world of some really passionate, creative people who happen to be cooking food as chefs, and you get to learn about them, see how their mind operates. If they're presented with certain ingredients in a cooking challenge, how did they react in that environment? And then you instinctively also think, if I was doing this, what would I have done? So you now get to place yourself in the environment of these people that you may or may not admire, right? So it's kind of like this mix of this primal thing with this being around passionate people and envisioning yourself in their shoes, right? And I think those three coming together are just a very powerful trifecta. And then you add really gracious, handsome, beautiful hosts who are really funny and clever, and it's over.
Yes, Roger. Yes, Roger.
That was a joke.
How do you I'm sure that there's something about, the entertainer in you, the MC in you, that it just makes sense that Roger goes from just being a chef to being a celebrity chef, right? It's, looking back, people see, I get it. It makes sense. But I don't know, is that something that you had always thought about as you started in that space, that I'm going to figure out how to combine entertainment and food? Or was it just the love of the craft of cooking and feeding people that drove you?
I really railed against it for a long time, because when I started in cooking school, it was right around the time Food Network was just launching in Canada, right? And really, funnily enough, they used to film all of those early shows about a block and a half from the restaurant where I was then just currently the new head chef, right? And so every maybe 2-3 times a week, the Food Network team, because they were launching Food Network, they were working like 16 hours a day. They weren't about to go home and cook. So they would just pop in, get some food at a restaurant. And because we were literally around the corner, like a block and a half around the corner, they used to come to my restaurant all the time. Like I said, 2-3 times a week. And so they would eat, and I would always like just go walk through the restaurant, say what's up to people and blah, blah, blah. So I just knew them as Holly and Tanya for years, for a couple years. And then one day they said, hey, do you know we work at the Food Network? And to be honest, I had resolved, I just wanted a simple life, man. I had done like performing and being like a public figure. And I was like, I'm over it. I just want to be anonymous, cook my food, go home to my girlfriend and wake up. And it's just simple, right? And then so they said, yo, it's Holly and Tom. Did you know we work for the Food Network? And I'm like, no, that's cool. And you like that job? Okay, cool, right? They're like, look, we're looking for some new hosts and we're here all the time. You're really friendly and you don't harass us. Like, are you interested in that? I'm like, well, not really, but, y'all are cool. So I'll talk to you, So they're like, look, come and have this audition. And the audition, like I said, was a block and a half around the corner. And apparently you're supposed to show up with like whatever ingredient that you think defines you, right? And you have to go and make an omelet. Everybody had to make an omelet. So I wasn't wildly interested. So I didn't show up with any ingredient. I was like in shorts. And so I did this, cooked my omelet and blah, 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 blah. And I don't remember this, but the food stylist on set was like, okay, so you make the omelet and then you can serve it to your date with the what did I say? I can't even remember now. Anyways, so I made this omelet and I put it up and they were like, okay, cool. All right. I cracked some jokes. They're like, oh, it's fun, blah, 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 blah. And then they called me back and they said, look, we're doing these couple show concepts. If you are interested, here's this concept. I'm like, yeah, it's not a good concept, but thanks. I think that's not good. So they looked at me like, what the hell, right? And so they went away. A couple weeks later, they're like, oh, yo, we got this other show concept. Does this interest you? I'm like, no, it's not a good idea. I'm not into that idea, right? So that happened about 3-4 times, and they just stopped calling me, right? They're like, who's this guy? Then I opened a restaurant on King Street called Culture. It was like a big splashy restaurant. And I walked in through the dining room one day and there's Holly and Tanya again, right? This is like a couple years later now. They're like, yo, what are you doing here? I'm like, what are you doing here? It's my restaurant, right? So they're like, oh, nice to see you again. This food is so good, blah, 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 right? And they're like, look, I'm glad you didn't do those shows because they didn't pan out well, but we're doing things a little different now if you want to talk. And I'm like, okay, cool. I still like them. They're still cool. So I was like, let's talk to them. So we started kicking it and boom, boom, boom. A couple years later, we launched this show called Everyday Exotic.
And there you go.
Yeah, that's basically how I did. But I was very reluctant. I was not trying to do that. I guess the skills I learned being a performer for stage and music for so many years, I employed a lot of those tactics subconsciously when I went into this food television landscape. But it definitely was not some master plan, to be honest. It was just the universe kind of just put it all before me,
That's interesting because I feel the same way in business now, like being a musician from back in the 80s and 90s, and now in business, and I speak at conferences and same sort of thing. I channel up all that energy and the nerves, and I bundle it up and I wrap it up into here, and I would step on stage at a conference and go boom, boom. Yeah, right? Just channel that and go boom. Yeah.
Because subconscious, as soon as you see a crowd, it's there you go, boom, it's on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
So you've just opened up, not just, but a bit ago, Twist.
Yeah.
By Roger Mooking at Pearson. Airport food. And again, I'm not saying it's airport food. But
it's airport food. Yeah.
But it's interesting. Can you tell us a bit about what you've done there?
So we started at Twist like 6 years ago, I think now is when we opened the doors. Okay. But prior to that, if you're a touring musician, you're going through the airports and it was just like hamburgers, French fries. If you're lucky, you may get like a Caesar salad. But it was basically just like stuff coming out of a bag from the freezer, and they would just reheat that joint and put on your plate, right? So the airports Pearson realized that they got to step their game up with that. And they put the word out to their food and beverage suppliers that, we want to bring in some of these people. And that's kind of how that started. I was on that list. And then, so my concept going into there was my main objective. I took over this brand. The space that I took over was this well-known brand that did a lot of hamburgers and fries. And my main objective, I said, first thing, I want to see what your sales mix is. And like 90% of the sales were hamburger fries. Then below that was some other kind of mundane thing similar to that, right? And I said, my goal going into this project is to make the burger and fries like the number 8 selling item. I'm going to sell people everything else under the sun. So now we do like Thai style beef curry is one of our highest selling items. We sell vegan tacos, which is one of our highest selling items. We sell twist fried chicken, which is the number 1 item. And the burgers are like down like 7 and 8, So, and because an interesting thing in an airport is that you're servicing every kind of clientele under the sun. Like, for instance, if I open a steakhouse, I can pretty much guarantee the type of clientele that I'm going to get. 75% of the clientele is going to fit in a very specific box, right? And I can create the food around that box. I can market to that box, and I can pinpoint my customer to that box and feed that sweet spot. In an airport, I have everything from a 5-year-old kid who is vegan to an 85-year-old kid who wants a steak, And so everything under the sun is coming through the airport. So the trick is to create a menu that you can actually function and service out of a reasonably small kitchen, because they tend to be small, and service all these people without having 100 menu items on your menu, right? So that was really the trick of it. And we serve fresh food from scratch, prepared fresh, raw ingredients every single day. Actually, the first thing I did when we were redesigning that restaurant was I ripped out the freezer. So there's no freezer in the kitchen, except a very small freezer under the counter that has 2 shelves, and we have some ice cream in there and some frozen grapes that go on a salad.
That's nuts.
Nice.
They thought I was nuts. When I said I'm going to rip out the freezer, they were like, what are you doing? That's our lifeblood. It's like, so we got to change it, right?
Where are you going to put the food?
Yeah, right.
So Roger, we have a segment called Lost Venues, where we ask our guests to tell us a story about a gig at a place that no longer exists. So Roger, what's your lost venue?
There was a club in Edmonton called the Bronx. It was like in between a couple buildings. You go down this narrow alley, and there was these cement steps. It looked like this disheveled warehouse kind of thing in downtown Edmonton. Mm-hmm. And you walk in, you go in, and you go up and down these steps even further down, and it was like this dungeness cavern, all black, really dark and dingy. You don't want to touch the walls because it's like Sneaky D's in there. Actually, it's like the bathroom of Sneaky D's in there.
Oh, yeah.
And so the Bronx, man, that place was crazy. And I remember one time we played there a few times as Maximum Definitive, but I remember one show we were opening up for the Dream Warriors. And the night before, there was a show by Gwar. You know Gwar?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so Gwar had played the night before, and they still had like blood dripping from the ceiling and like blood stuff all over the floor still and on the walls. And so we walked in there, we're like, we know the Bronx is grimy, but what the hell happened here last night? And they're like, Gwar played. And I'm like, who's Gwar? And then they started telling me about Gwar and the costumes. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then that night we opened for the Dream Warriors,
Nice.
Wow. Dream Warriors.
Yeah, it's a great show.
So Roger, let's play one of your songs. So from Edibles, Feel Good.
Yeah, man.
Talk to us about that song. What's it about, and how did it come to be?
One day I was feeling just really frustrated, man. About everything under the sun. This was pre-COVID. feeling really, really frustrated. So I'm like, yo, I'm going to jump in my car. I'm going to go to the ravine and go for a walk under the bridge. So I went for a walk. I had a notepad with me. I don't know why. It's very odd for me to walk around with a notepad. But anyways, I had a notepad and a paper. And I walked to the end of the trail and there was nothing there. So I walked up into the woods, up onto the top of this hill. And I sat on the top of this hill in the middle of the woods on this tree stump, looking down at the river at the end of the trail, like nobody's going there. And then a song just came into my head. Just came into my head. And I was so frustrated that day. And I just said, I just want to feel good. What do I got to do to feel good? You know? And then the lyrics just started. So much going on in the world today. I stare in the mirror with a world to face. Like this was just pure frustration. I was just releasing it. And I just kept going. And I had made this beat. One of those beats that I heard in my sleep. I actually made the beat. And I had it in my headphones and I was walking around. So I just started writing to this beat up on this hill. And I sat there in the woods by myself and I wrote all the lyrics to the song. And then a few days later, I went and I recorded it. And that what you hear is just what it is. It's just pure frustration, but hope and optimism. And, you know, just the frustration of it, man, just coming out. And I just want to feel good. And so funnily enough, here we are in this time. I released this album now, coming out of not even post. We're in the middle of COVID still. It's hot and heavier than ever. Soon. And everybody is frustrated and depressed and, you know, do want to go to work. They don't want to go to work. They want to put their kids in school. They don't want to put their kids in school. Like, it's just this crazy era we're in right now. And so I was like, yo, let's drop this thing and put out Feel Good as the lead, because I think everybody's at that point where they're like, fuck it. I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
You know? This is what it is, man. Yeah.
Awesome. From his new EP, Edibles, this is Roger Mooking with Feel Good. Greg, this is where you insert it right here. Like,
yes, thanks, buddy.
Right.
I'll make sure I do. I know I miss it every time, but yeah.
So much going on in the world today.
So much going on in the world today.
I stare in the mirror with a world of face.
Stare in the mirror, stare in the mirror.
They're doing all of this at a whirling pace. But who the fuck said I gotta join the race?
Who the fuck said? Fuck 'em.
See, today I woke up and I had enough. Admitted to myself cause I'm man enough. Face so sour but I'm mad at what? The sun so gold that I had to touch. And the landlord calling, he want the rent.
Fuck 'em.
My baby calling up, just want a vent. My last damn nerve is gone again. Tomorrow this gonna happen all again. Damn, fuck it, I just wanna feel good. And not just a little, mean a real good. I wanna feel good. I'm talking real good. Man, I'm feeling really good about my life today. I'm feeling really good about my life. The trouble in the world, feel a world away. See, I think I'm gonna turn off the news again.
And in today's news, everything is
Man, I think I'm gonna turn up my mood again. But today I woke up and I had to touch. Baby looking good, so I grabbed the butt. Smile and a wink, then I bagged it up. Now that's the kind of way that you start the day. Still a landlord calling, he want the rent. I hung the phone up, man, it's all respect. See, nothing gonna get on my nerve again. Tomorrow this gonna happen all again. All because I said, fuck it, I just wanna feel good. And not just a little, mean a real good. I wanna feel good. I'm talking real good. What we gonna do?
Feel good.
What? Hey, what we gonna do? The landlord calling, he want the rent.
Fuck 'em again.
I hung the phone up, man, it's all respect. See, nothing gonna get on my nerve again. Tomorrow this gonna happen all again. All because I said, fuck it, I just wanna feel good. And not just a little, mean a real good. I wanna feel good. I'm talking real good. So I said, fuck it, I just wanna feel good. And not just a little, mean a real real good. I wanna feel good. I'm talking real good.
Okay. So Roger, thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that
Yeah,
with us.
thank you.
Really appreciate it. So my wife, who's a teacher librarian
Oh, cool.
and is a
That's
huge
cool
fan
job.
of Canada Reads,
Oh, amazing.
we were talking about why did you champion Butter Honey Pig Bread?
It's one of the best books I've ever read in my life. Flat out, straight up. That's it. That's what it came down to.
What was
I
it?
read a lot of different kind of books. Like I read a lot of like sociology. I read a lot about science and spirituality and cooking stuff, like music, biography. I read like a gamut of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I read this book and it just hit me so hard, man. I never cried so much reading a book.
Wow.
I never laughed so much reading a book. I never felt every human emotion reading this book. And it was just easy to champion. I went in going, look, I'm just going to pick the best book. And it just was so easy to champion because I truly felt it was one of the best things I've ever read in my entire life. Like
Wow.
Francesca Ekweyasi is like, she's a beast, man. She just is so smart, so gentle, kind, loving. She puts her whole soul into it. Very thoughtful, very dynamic, and just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful prose, man. And just so many things that stuck with me from that book, like parts of my own life experiences. I relate to directly in that book. So many life experiences and like just devastating things I've lived through in that book, and just I've never read that put in that situation put in any form in a way that I've read and understood like that, you know. And she says in that book, you are bigger than you can even imagine. It's just beautiful sentiments all over that book, man. So as soon as I read that one, I read a bunch after it, but I knew it was just wasting my time. It was like, you know, you get a beloved Toni Morrison once a generation kind of thing. And I really felt is that powerful, you know?
Went on to
Lovely.
become one of
Thank
the
you.
top selling books in all of Canada last year.
It should be one of the best selling books in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. If you've never read it, please read it. It's majestic.
Yeah, my wife
Alrighty.
loved it. Kelly loved it.
Incredible.
So before we wrap it up, one of the questions I always like to ask our guests is, what's in your earbuds lately? What are you listening to that people should be checking out?
Yo, I like this kid, Cordae. He's out of the West Coast. He's out of California, Cordae. Really incredible kid, man. This MC, really, really good. I've been peeping like Snow Allegra. She's really dope. I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts. I like podcasts. Listen to a lot of that. What else am I listening to? What else just came out that I'm really, really peeping? Yo, I'm really loving what Royce the 5'9" is doing these days. I think he's doing the best music of his career right now. Just really, really incredible. His music right now is just stupid, man. Anything he's putting out is just ridiculous. So yeah, those are kind of, I love this kid, JID. He's from the J. Cole's camp. JID is just stupid, man. I still love rappers and rapping, man. Like, just rapping is like the most fun thing. Have you ever rapped? It's the most fun thing to do ever. It's so fun. It's so fun, man. So I really appreciate rappers who rap really good, and just inspires me still. You know, I'm this dude and just wake up with songs in my head, but I'm inspired by just so much music, man. It's so much good stuff.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Roger, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for telling us some great stories as well. Roger Mooking has been our guest. His latest EP is called Edibles. Roger, if people want to check out the music, where's the best place for them to go?
It's on all streaming. It's on all streaming. So you go to all the streaming, I don't know, Amazon Prime, Apple, everything, Spotify, all them things. It's all there.
Awesome. Thanks again, buddy. Really appreciate it.
Thank you,
It's been an
Kareem.
honor.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Greg.
sir.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your support. It means a lot. Thank you.